text me stuff.
We've got Tony
I just matched people that were trying to also I had to call
out the
the guy
Mississippi
that
blood. Dear Lord, I'm longing for that glorified flesh and blood. There's somebody just waving away.
man, I'm like 90 nothing on it.
But it's all renewed every day. Got this treasure in my blood.
All right, everybody. Hey, it's your boy Clint coming to you again, I guess, via the YouTubes. This is episode 6. I about threw the 7 on there because my right hand hardly works, but 6 of Pajama Wrestling 101. And my guest is black belt out of the state of Tennessee. No, you're Mississippi, aren't you?
Yeah, I claim Tennessee and Mississippi.
Everywhere,
because
yeah.
I'm in Tennessee.
Yeah, because the first time I met you was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
That was actually a pretty funny story. But Jamie Houston, founder, the guy. I mean, I don't know how many hats do you actually wear with Summit Grappling? Do you wear all of them?
Yeah. For the most part, my wife wears a lot of the hats too. But I had to train her how to wear the hats. So.
Yeah. So does the wife do
But-
jiu-jitsu at all?
What's that?
Does your wife practice jiu-jitsu at all?
Yeah. She just started training about late last year. So she's still a white belt. She's got like one stripe on her belt, I think. But it's funny, so I own a school in Starkville, Mississippi, where Mississippi State is at.
Yes, sir.
And I that's why I say I claim Tennessee and Mississippi, because I own a home in the Memphis area. So I go home on Thursday, and I'm with my wife Thursday through Sunday, and then Monday through Thursday I'm here in Starkville. I've got some land here, and I got a big camper. I planned to live this minimalist lifestyle, and I sold everything I own about 6 years ago, and bought a camper, and I've been living in it full time until I met my wife, which was just shortly after I started living the minimalist lifestyle. And then we started dating and that kind of thing. So then, I bought 30 acres of land. I cleared it out.
Right, yeah.
Put grass everywhere, made a cool little spot. And then I met her, and, this basically this lifestyle somewhat got put on hold.
Right.
And we started dating, and we ended up buying a house because she has a daughter, and she's a senior in high school this coming year. So once she graduates, she'll move here. But my wife trains at Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, and preferably because, it's cool that I don't want to be the one promoting her.
Right.
I'd rather somebody else.
Well, because there's always that perception when if it's a family member or something like that. Well, they're just getting that rank because
Right.
because they're related to so and so.
Yeah.
I've been around enough parents that have kids in martial arts that run that there's that stigma, and actually, more often than not, we hold them to a higher standard than we would a regular student, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. On a parent level, for sure. Even on a spouse, but man, some spouses, I've seen some spouses or whatever promote their significant others, and they, in my opinion, they were nowhere near that
Right.
level, but
No.
but it's not my decision.
Well, it's a little bit easier to piss your kid off than piss your spouse off.
Yeah.
Like it's a little
It's
bit.
like the kid just get over it. The wife is like, babe, I'm sorry,
The next thing you know, you're sleeping on the couch and you got a bar going down your back. And you can't.
yeah.
So what went into your thought process of living the minimalist lifestyle? I mean, what kind of led to that, if you don't mind me asking?
Man, so uh, I don't. I guess like so when I was in my house, I moved from Olive Branch, Mississippi to Oxford um, because I had a gym at one time in Oxford as well.
Yes,
But
sir.
I lived there, and then my I just know that I was like, man, I really want to live in a camper, and I want to be able to travel and go wherever I want to go. And I initially bought a camper, and I was just staying in it instead of renting an apartment in the Starkville area.
Right, yeah.
So I thought, man, I'll just buy a camper, and then I'll keep it at this little RV place, and I'll just pay the monthly. It was like a couple of $100 a month just to keep my camper there. And I'd go and stay in it whenever I'd go teach class and stuff, or be there for the business. And then so I decided that having a home to have to drive back to, because I was at the point I was planning on opening. I actually opened another gym in Tuscaloosa as well. So one time I had 3 gyms, and the idea was like, man, I'm just going to live in a camper and just travel around and, go to my businesses and, take care of my businesses that way. So that's kind of what led me that way. But then the more I started thinking about it, I was like, man, I don't need furniture. You just buy a camper because all that stuff comes in the camper, the TVs, the furniture, So, man, I just, I was getting ready to make the jump, and I remember I went live on Facebook because my house was full of stuff, and then I had a storage that was flat full. So I remember putting a thing out on Facebook saying, "Hey, everything in my storage is for $1. Everything's for $1. Just come in." So, man, I would have people showing up, between the times I put on there, and they'd come and they just buy a bunch of stuff out of my storage. Like I said, everything was $1. So it was that, or, like I didn't have anything else to do with it. So I needed to get rid of it pretty quick.
Yeah. No, I remember going through my divorce. I was like, the person that's moving into my apartment, I'm like, look, I'll sell you everything in here except for that TV for $1,000. Like, oh, my clothes. I said, that's it. You can have everything else. And they did it because it's a good deal. Wow. So, man, what got you into jiu-jitsu? What was did you do any other sports? What kind of was your progression to getting into jiu-jitsu, Jamie?
First of all, the first UFC came out in, I guess, 93. I graduated high school in 93, but I remember watching the first UFC. Of course, nobody watched it live. Everybody watched it by VHS tape. And, but I remember renting it and watching it. I just remember renting it and watching it during the O.J. Simpson trial in 94.
Yeah, the memorable event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, I lived in Memphis, had an apartment with a buddy of mine, and we were just like watching it, and we were like, oh man, this is crazy. And then, like nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was. Just like, wait, what? What is this? Like, this guy's doing jiu-jitsu and he's killing everybody,
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up just following the UFC just like everybody else, and just like, man, jiu-jitsu's awesome. Jiu-jitsu's awesome. And then I always wanted to train, but I didn't know. I was never around anybody that trained, so I didn't. Like, and kind of back then, social media really wasn't even a thing. So, like, and it wasn't really listed in the yellow pages. So you just didn't
Right.
know. You didn't know where you could go
Yeah.
to find jujitsu. So I never really even, at one time I kind of thought, I don't even know where you could find to do jujitsu.
Right.
So then just time went on, man. And um, I've always played like basketball, like competitive softball. And I was a huge boxing fan when I was a kid too, because my dad loved boxing. And so inadvertently, I love boxing too. And man, we used to watch all the Mike Tyson fights. Anyway, so I was always really attracted to combat sports in general. And then, the UFC came out and I was just mind blown. Well, then, I got my favorite fighters, George St. Pierre, stuff like that, that Tito Ortiz, that these guys are just taking them down and just beating them up. And so I realized that my passion really was grappling, even though MMA was kind of my passion at the beginning, but the style was a grappling style MMA. And so anyway, in 2008 time frame, I was just good. I was playing competitive softball for a guy that owned Prizefight Boxing, and he's the same guy. His name was Brian Young. He's the same guy that brought Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson to Memphis. He brought the Tyson ATM fight to Memphis. Really big boxing promoter in the Memphis area, and he loved softball and baseball. And anyway, he created he wanted to sponsor a team, so he put like a team together. And then I was playing competitive softball for him. Well, he would invite us to all the boxing matches and stuff that he would do, and he had a big contract with the Fitzgerald, and then he'd do like other boxing in the area too. But anyway, he decided he's going to put his hand in MMA events. Well, his first MMA event was an outdoor event, and I just happened to be, a part of it.
Right.
And so anyway, I saw a really good friend of mine. He actually passed away a little over a year ago, but his name was Pride, and he was fighting that night. And he fought, and I thought, man, that guy is close to my age, and he's in there, fighting. And at the time, I was thinking, man, I feel like I could beat that guy now, and
Right.
his opponent, and I don't have any real, training or whatever. So that's what ultimately led me to go start training, was actually MMA, because I wanted to be a fighter.
Right.
And so then I started training jujitsu, and I just so happened John David Shackelford, he he owned a gym that was like 5 minutes from my house when I lived in Olive Branch, and he was on the Ultimate Fighter at one time. But he made the cut, but then he ended up getting like I think he had like a ringworm on his head, but they called it mat herpes. And then Dana White sat down with him while he was trying to cut weight. He had a beanie on, and said, "John, you're going to have to go home, buddy. Sorry." So he never got to fight. He's probably got the worst luck ever. One of the most talented guys in the area, and well, they cut him from the Ultimate Fighter, but anyway, he fought professionally, and but he was affiliated with Memphis Judo and Jiu Jitsu as well. And then so all my training, and then he got hurt. I started training there. I got my blue belt there.
Okay.
In 2010. But then I was really focused on fighting. I didn't really care. I trained jujitsu and I trained like wrestling, but I didn't care about any kind of rank. I didn't even give two I didn't care. I didn't give two
No,
shits.
no, I get it because you were training more for your MMA, and if
Right.
jiu-jitsu came along with it, that was great. But it wasn't
Right.
something you were training jiu-jitsu for MMA, not
Right.
focus on the jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I absolutely get it.
Yeah. So man, so I just started training, and then I had a pretty active fighting career for a short time. So probably from my first fight in 09, the last fight was in 2014, and so 5 years I fought. So then after my last fight, I just focused on my businesses, because at the time uh, I had one gym and a fight promotion is all I had at the time. And so I was like, man, I really want to get busy with my business, stuff like that. So I started doing that, focused on my business. And then also I started traveling the world as well. Anyway, I would only train maybe once a month, you know, and that was like that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then um and then I ended up getting, and of course I stayed training, but I gained weight. I was, I was overweight.
Yeah.
And I'd never been that big, but fighting had always kept me, in shape. So I just remember I went to a Naga. I hired a new black belt to teach at my gym, and then we all went to a Naga in Nashville, and I want to say it was early 2017 maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and then like I just beat all the competition at blue belt. So then the black belt at the time gave me my purple belt, and that was early 2017 when I got my purple belt. And then I just stayed as a purple belt. Well, then some of the upper belts from Memphis came down to my gym and started uh, teaching classes and stuff like that. And this other black belt had left, so then I had um, uh, one of our affiliates in Oxford. He stopped teaching where he was at and came to my gym. So good friend of mine. So he was teaching there. So we would have these people come down, and they're like, "Man, Jamie, you're sandbagging." And of course, as a purple belt, and I was like, "What?" They just, "You're sandbagging." I'm like, "No, man. I can't believe you're a purple belt." Well, then I got big into. They invited me to go to a competition with them or something.
Yeah.
So they were huge into the IBJJF competition scene. So I did it, and I thought, man, this was so much fun. I won, and hanging out with friends. We all going out to eat together, and we're traveling different places, and competing and stuff. So I got super big into the IBJJF competition scene, and man, I just kept competing. And then in 2018, I flew out to California by myself and competed in Nogi Worlds, and then I ended up winning Nogi Worlds. I got second in my weight class, and then I won gold in the absolute. So, which little did I know that the absolute was actually the better gold medal, than your weight division typically. And I was all butthurt because I didn't win my weight class, because it was my fault that I lost. Like, the guy was, I mean, I was on a path to, I was already beating the guy. I shot in, took him down, got my points. He was exhausted, and then instead of me just playing it out and just win, I I'm sitting here looking at this like injured gazelle, and I'm like this lion trying to be greedy.
I want the kill. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I ended up making a mistake and on an arm drag. Anyway, I lost the match, and I got second place, and that was the finals of my division. And then, but I went on and I got gold. Well, then I got my brown belt in 18, the beginning of 2018. And then I just kept competing as a brown belt, and I won, lots of IBJJF opens as a brown belt. And then I just remember going to New Orleans, February of 2020 as a brown belt, and competed. It was right before, COVID shut everything down. And I competed at in 2018, and I brown belt. I mean, took gold a ton, but then that February of that year, I ended up winning gold in my weight, gold in the absolute, and then I also won gold in no-gi in my weight and the absolute as well. So I won quadruple gold, and I was just like, man, I felt like I'm on fire right now, And then, I just kept doing the secret training, all throughout COVID, and then I got my black belt in September 2020.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. So then, of course, I've been a black belt now for right at 3 years, and that's pretty much it, man. That, as far as like,
right. No, it's an awesome journey. Now I'm going to ask you a question. I ask a lot of people this, and I think I know the answer before I ask it. You kind of cut your teeth tournament training, IBJJF. You now have an awesome organization, Summit Grappling, that does super fights. Do you prefer the super fight format over the tournament format? But you got to put a tournament. Now you do yours different because you've got a tournament within a set of super fights.
Correct. Yeah. So when I came up with Summit Grappling, first of all, when I did it, I only came up with Summit Grappling because I was like, man, I've been doing MMA events. I own the cage, the lights, everything, the live stream stuff. I own all this stuff already. The only difference is just putting down some mats. And that was in my head. I was like, I've been doing shows for, for a really long time. And so when I came up with the rule set, I was looking around. I've competed a lot in IBJJF. I've competed in a super fight before. I've competed in different rule sets. So I thought, man, what is my favorite? So I kind of picked, the stuff that I'd seen and that kind of thing, and I used a multitude of things to make the rule set. So Who's Number One gave me the idea. They do it in thirds. So, a third of the way in, they say, hey, so-and-so's winning the match.
Right.
And then 2/3 of the way in, and, but on my event, I was like, well, I'm not going to have 15-minute matches. I'm just going to do, everybody's going to have lower times. We're just going to do at the halfway point.
Right, yeah.
But I really like that open scoring style because it lets the competitors know that are being judged what the judges are thinking during the match, So, so anyway, I took that and then I started thinking, like, what can I do at the end? Because everybody's complaining. They want more matches. They like the tournament style, but they want more matches. So I'm thinking, well, you know what? So in my mind, IBJJF, you can only, if you're on the podium, only the people on the podium can go to the absolute.
Right, yeah.
So I said, what? Everybody that wins their super fight, those people are going to all elect to go against each other in an absolute. And then we'll make that for, money, cash money, and like a big championship belt.
No, it's a lot of fun to watch. It really is. Yeah.
But yeah, man. And at one time, it was funny. Actually, Matt Elkins Matt's a 10th Planet brown belt. He owns Ironclad in Birmingham. Matt's super cool dude, great grappler too. And him and I were talking, and I was telling him, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And this was like at the very beginning of Summit Grappling. And I was saying, yeah, so you can win $1,500, but if you don't submit your opponent in the first 5 minutes, we're going to take $1,000 from you. And he goes, man, he's like, that's a great idea. He said, but why don't you flip it around to where it's a positive side? So instead of making people think, oh shit, I'm getting penalized, turn it or flip it around and say, hey, this is what we're going to give you, make it more of an incentive. So literally it was the same concept, but it was just like half glass full, half empty type situation.
Right.
And I just changed my wording where I'm incentivizing everyone. Hey, if you do submit, I'm going to give you $1,000 submission bonus. So I changed my wording around with it. But it's, it's really done well. And it's cool because it's definitely an attractive format. I think one, the competitors get more matches, and then two, they get to compete for like big money. Or
right. And literally one of my favorite things you do at your events, and Nate Kirby will probably take credit for it, but every time he comes around that bucket, the fastest submission. And when I did your event, my only goal was not to be the guy that gave the other bucket. I'm like, Jerry, you're not going to. Me and Jerry we were sitting in me and Jerry Burns, he was my second guest. We were sitting in the back. And I think someone had submitted somebody in 30 seconds. I go, Jerry, I don't think I can submit you in 30 seconds because I can't do you either. So we both felt safe about not doing that. But was that his idea or was that your idea to pass around the bucket for fastest submission?
Yeah, dude, that was totally Nathan's thing. At first I was a little reserved because he just up and started doing it. He didn't even ask; he just started doing it. Which, now I think it's pretty cool. I think that him walking around, trying to get the crowd involved. And then, of course, it's cool because he'll get he'll find a cute kid in that audience and have them as the little helper, and they'll walk around with the bucket. Right. Like you can't turn a kid down, And so he does. He did it. He came up with it, and it's really caught on. It's pretty cool. I had another announcer that had to do Nashville, and Jamie Grant. He's out of Memphis. Jamie's super cool, great announcer as well. And so it was something new. I was like, hey man, so this is what you're gonna have to do. And then I told him, he's like, oh, okay. So he went around and did it, and he ended up getting there's a little girl that was working for us, and so she was the one that was walking around with the bucket. And but anyway, so we've kind of, even though Nathan's the one who started it, we've kind of kept it going. If he can't, for some reason, if his schedule doesn't work out where he can be the announcer. So,
well, Danny Green was my original coach, and I'm still with Team LDMA, and it's also right there. But, so it's on my arm and behind my back. But he always says, he goes, I know a good technique when I steal it. And when somebody's got a good idea, steal it. Still their idea. Just I would have taken credit for it though, Jamie. You're a better person, better person than I am. Now, man, and I just out of curiosity, because I've always wondered this. I know you've run Birmingham, Alabama, Nashville, Memphis, and Little Rock. And I think you're about to run Hernando, Mississippi.
Yeah, well, Hernando's really like the Memphis area. It's just across the state line. Just the venue is literally, I mean, like from the Memphis airport to the venue is probably 20 minutes. I mean, it's literally right across the state line, right off the like they built a 269 or something like that. Basically, they made this bypass that goes from Highway 78, that goes to Birmingham. 78, they made like a cut across. It cuts over to 55 and it goes all the way to 61 in Tunica.
Oh, okay.
So it's where that little junction is. So literally it's like probably 20 minutes, probably 20 minutes from the airport. I mean, it's just across the state line. So we really look at it as Memphis, but we do plan on going. My goal is to go to like the North Florida area.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of what I was going to ask. What do you kind of look at? What's your thought process of expanding? Because you obviously have an entrepreneurial spirit. After talking to you for like 2 seconds, I can say, okay, this guy's got the entrepreneur bug.
Yeah.
So what kind of that's curious what your thought. Obviously, you're going into Florida, and there's probably other places that you look at. What kind of is the thought process into that?
Yeah. So honestly, like, I don't have. My thing is, I don't like to go anywhere where I'm blind. Right. A lot of people are just. Some people have that. They have such a good, entrepreneurial drive that they'll just go. It doesn't matter. Let's just go. Like as far as like what I look at, I look at somebody that has either competed with us before, so that they can be the like, hey, this event is awesome, whatever. Somebody that can vouch for me, or like, or if I get like a ton, like for instance, I didn't plan to come to Little Rock originally, but we had so many Little Rock competitors coming to Memphis to compete that I was like, man, I'm gonna go to Little Rock. So then I went to Little Rock and I thought, man, I'm getting a ton of, people that want to compete from like say the Decatur, Alabama area. Man, I'm gonna go to Birmingham. Right. So, like the idea is that I was at least going somewhere that there can be someone that sorry, message came up on my screen.
Oh, you're good.
So but I really just look for, mainly I look for the venue. I look for, the place to have, the event and that kind of thing. But, I just have to know that there's, a lot of jiu-jitsu competitors close by, you know what I mean? In that area or somewhat close to that area that would travel. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm going for.
But I've noticed, and you've had a lot of guys from 10th Planet and Atlanta come, so you got. Yeah. I would figure you're probably going to look at Georgia at some point.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or make a plan for you, but
yeah, no. I at some point I'd love to do an event, in Atlanta. Like right now we're only doing about 8 events a year. And we really want to increase that to be honest, I want to have one once a month. And okay. I'd love to, the idea is I'd love to be able to do like New Orleans. I want to really cover the Southeast, Charleston, New Orleans, kind of like the North Florida area. I say North Florida, but almost to a point where Orlando's only an hour away or something, it's kind of my thought process. And then, man, and just continue to do an event, like I said, every single month, in these different areas, but make them far enough, like, so for instance, if I'm doing, like North Florida area or whatever, that the next month I'm in Little Rock, and then the next month from Little Rock I'm in Atlanta, and then the next month I'm in New Orleans, so that they're 5 or 6 hours away from each other, so that I'm getting like a different pool of hitters.
Yeah. Now, one of the things
So,
when I was getting ready for my match in Memphis, me and Josh Root, teammates, he outranks me by 30 seconds and a couple of tears from Johnny. He likes to remind me of that. So because he got his black belt first, I got mine second. Same night.
okay.
So yeah, he really, me and Josh, we're good friends and we've trained together forever and we could not be more opposite. But I mean, me and him, we're sitting in the back. He goes, dude, how's it cool is it that we're gonna be competing on flow grappling? How did your relationship with flow grappling come about? Was it one of the things where you're like, hey, I've got content, or did they seek you out? How did that happen?
Yeah, they seek me out.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I know, man. Like I said, I literally, like when I did the first event, I just thought, hey, this is another little way I can make some money, because grappling's getting a little popular. Let me get on it now, start doing a few events around the area, and make because I was like, man, I'll just do like 3 events a year. That's all I plan on doing. And then, man, working that deal with Flow, I did an event with Brandon McCaffrey, and he hosted the PGF finale, and then I did the undercard, and then we did that in Decatur, Alabama, and I did successfully got a card done and matched there, and then as soon as that was over with, they hit me up on Flow, and they were like, "Hey, man, we want to." And strange enough, I was using a live stream, some live stream equipment called Sling Studio,
Okay.
which was extremely easy to use. And man, it was awesome. Like, it was so easy to hook up. But man, they stopped making it. They stopped having support for it. I mean, you're talking like 4 or 5 years. No, they won't talk to you at all. They're out of stock. They're out. I mean, they didn't say that they're out of business, but they're not giving any updates, nothing. So really, this awesome piece of equipment that they had that met all of your live stream needs, it was always messing up. So
like it's like having a Porsche out front, but you can't get a clutch for it, so you can't drive it.
Right, exactly. So the thing is I was like, man, you know what? I think it's going to be the smartest, wisest decision to go ahead and upgrade my equipment to more of like the streamlined stuff that has tons of support, has a big, something that's a popular brand and stuff like that. So I started switching all of my live stream equipment over, and as I was switching it, I was teaching myself how to use it. And man, I bought a ATM Mini Extreme. It's a Black Magic product, but it's a switcher. So I bought it. I bought this instant replay device. It's like a Roland PH20. It's super cool, but that's probably my most expensive piece of equipment. But it's like it's super cool. Like, you can make, like, for instance, something just happened. All you have to do is there's a button that says make clip. Literally, you can set that to go back as far as you want.
Oh, wow.
By default, it'll automatically take and make a clip for the previous 7 seconds from when you hit the button.
Right.
So if something just happened, you're like, oh, damn, you can look down and hit make clip, and it just made that clip for that 7 seconds. And then it keeps it. Well, then you can queue it up to show the replay, right. Or you can just make all of these clips, and then after the match is over and the commentators are talking about it, you can play these replays, and then they can talk about each replay. And then also you can make it's called a palette. You can make like this palette of all the replays where it just shows like basically just shows all replays, the instant replays and the clips that you made. It puts them all in one and it plays them as one big highlight reel. But anyway, I bought all of that equipment and I was changing it out. And then literally I'm in the middle of doing all that, and then Flo messages my Instagram page, and they message. They're like, "Hey, man, you know, like we want to talk to somebody. Who do we need to talk to? We want to talk to somebody about, you know, the video rights and stuff like that." So I was like, "Oh my god!" So then I ended up having a conversation with them. Had like a I guess like a conference call type thing with them, and then after that, it was just negotiating the contract and the terms, and then you know, and then it's just been going on from there. So I haven't. We've got like 1 year left on contract with them, so yeah. I think I'm going to reach out to them soon to see if they're interested in re-signing or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it was super cool, man. And I thought, man, this is going to be a big deal for this area, you know, being to all these guys to be on Flow Grappling. So
now the card I competed in Memphis under you, and obviously I had an injury and I had to drop out of the other one, which everybody that knows me knows that killed me to do. And I think you knew it did too, because I was like, I don't want to be, I don't want to be one of them pussies that just drops out. I mean, I got a little boo-boo from it, but you know, it's all right. But and then most time people are really hurt because there's a lot of work that goes into it, but I think you get my point. Now you competed on that one. I actually got submission of the night with a twister.
Yeah. So everybody was like, oh, you know, like you did submission of the night, you know, like funny you got submission of the night and you're the owner. And I'm like, well, I didn't call it submission of the night. Somebody else did. And I, you know, and it was like several people said it. And I thought, okay, well, I mean, that's how we're going to go. Because I had somebody say something to me about it.
Well, I mean, first off, it was a freaking twister. You know, I got Kimura. It's okay. You know, it was a cooler submission. Like, you know, it ain't So, but was that kind of the thought? Because I mean, have you competed again since then? What was that kind of go into your thought process? Like, you know, or you're probably so stinking busy, you just don't have time to do it.
Yeah, I like competing, you know, on my show, but just to be honest, it's so time consuming. That particular event, everything was covered. You know, I had a job for everybody to basically all the hats that I typically wear. I had it on somebody else's. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But yeah, so I had everybody in place wearing all of these different hats pretty much. Man, I just ended up making it to where I could just chill and relax, could get my head right, you know, and get ready for the match. And you know, and then too, I take a different outlook on competing, especially in jiu-jitsu and even in MMA too. I'm focused, but in jiu-jitsu, it's like there's a sense of camaraderie with everyone whenever you're competing with someone. You know, there's never any ill will towards the person.
No,
some people can't compete that way. Some people have to like hate their opponent. I'm not like that. You know, like I feel like you know, my jiu-jitsu skill is an art form and a skill and they have one as well. And I just, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to make sure mine's better than his, So
Yeah. No, and like me and like that event you had, me and Jerry were hanging out in this room by ourselves like 99% of the time we were back there. And then we
right,
went up there and went to, went to war for 9 minutes until he called me. I mean,
yeah,
it was a good day. It sucked because that's what I loved about your format was I don't know how the judges see it. I mean, because 5 minutes, me and him had barely gotten started. Um, we hadn't been on the ground that long. So I didn't even worry about what the judges say, but he kept throwing up a lot of submissions from underneath. And I was passing his guard, throwing stuff at him. But I'm like, okay, he's thrown a lot of submissions up. I don't know if I have this one. Where in a
right,
tournament format, I know I'd have been up on points. I mean,
right,
I know I would have been just destroying him on points. But I kept pushing it. And because I pushed it, I made the mistake. He caught me. And that's, I think, that says wonders about your format that you do with the judges and all that. That, an old lazy man like me will keep pushing the pace just because I'm competitive. I want to win. I don't know what they're thinking. So
right.
I better keep it on. Now, we talked earlier about Hernando, Mississippi. You got 2 events coming up. The first one I think is really cool. I really do. Not that the second one's not cool. So, but the first ever all female card. And I think
Yeah.
you're going to open up to some youth matches too. What was the thought process into that, and how's it going? And I know
Man,
you're
so
so busy matchmaking. You're probably like, I need to get off this podcast with you so I can keep matchmaking.
yeah, I've had tons of messages pop up since we've been talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So the all women's thing. So every time a woman would or girl would sign up for the event, they'd say, "Oh, you're not doing absolute for women." I'm like, "Well, we don't have enough. Like I can't. Like how can if I only have 8 girls sign up for the whole event, for our event, I I can't do a women's absolute tournament. That I mean, 8 women wouldn't even cover if they just paid the registration fee. They wouldn't even cover the cost of the
Right.
the what I'm paying. So anyway, I heard that like for the whole first year, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do an all women's event. And then what happened? Also, what happened too was so Eddie Bravo does something similar. He'll do what's called Medusa, um, which is like an all women's event, and
Okay.
then he'll also do like EEI the next day. So in my head, I thought, man, I'll do the same thing. I'll do an all women's event, and on Friday night, and have an absolute and all of that, and then on Saturday night, I'll just do the all men's. Well, then, so we had about 23 women that applied. And man, to be honest, I needed like 50 or 60 to apply. So, um, so then I was really nervous about, because matchmaking a grappling card is a lot easier than doing like an MMA card because you don't have like a massive amount of MMA people that are registering to compete on your event. You know what I mean? Like you have to go find those people and you have to go to all these gyms, talk to all the coaches. But in jiu-jitsu, it's just a little different, because a lot of times the jiu-jitsu competitor is, they can compete and do what they want without, well, they're on the front lines saying, hey, I want to compete on this event. And then if they're offered matches, they run it by their coach or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
But on this women's event, man, I really had to sit down and start thinking of women and coaches and stuff like that. So I was a little nervous, thinking I wasn't going to have enough matches. Like, man, this is not going to work. I was running through all kind of different ideas. So I thought about, man, why don't I just add youth matches in it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, because everybody's been hitting me up, let me know when you do youth matches. Let me know. Well, then I do youth matches, and then, you know, we have like 4 or 5 kids sign up, or like 4. Yeah, 4. I think 4 kids have signed up. And so in my brain, I'm just like, and there's supposed to be some more, but in my brain, I'm thinking, man, you know, this just isn't going to work. So I made that post. I just recently made a post of what I was looking for as far as like,
Yeah, I saw
black belt. Yeah. And then I made the match with Bettina and Brooke, which is going to be a phenomenal match. And that was the main event. And that really, I knew that was going to, once I made their matchup poster image and I posted it, I knew it was going to spark some attention.
Right.
So I put it out there. Right behind that, I put that post. So it had all these girls watching it, looking at it. And, you know, ultimately, man, I just had to, you know, buckle in. I made a list of all the former females that have competed with or applied to compete on our events in the past. Just made this one big master list. And then I just started contacting all of them, just reaching out. Hey. And then, so anyway, I did that. And then I've had some other people messaging and stuff, and I've made some really good matches. So now, you know, I was around only going to have 8 or 10 women matches. The goal is to have at least 20, and at a minimum. And I feel like if I had 20, that would at least start the process of having this all women, all female event, you know, once or twice a year. You know, I just need a bunch of women to come and compete, see how nice the show is and how well we run the show.
Yeah.
And then that way they'll go tell all their friends or something like that, you know. And then it just helps us build up, you know, Summit Grappling name a little bit better. So
I think it's good for the ladies too. I think it's an opportunity for them to show off their skills. I mean, you know, I've got some guys I teach. I'm like, hey, competitions, it's kind of like a piano recital where somebody's trying to choke you. You know, you learn these skills, go out there and show them off. Have fun.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest, like as many women, you know, that wanted this absolute, they wanted, you know, this style of event. I was surprised that I only had that many. I really thought that more women would would apply. And even Bettina made a good statement. You know, she's like, look, women always talk about, you know, we don't get enough opportunities and stuff like that. And then you have someone that steps up that's going to take the chance and give them opportunities, and then nobody takes advantage of it. So, you know, I'm not defeated. You know, I still have lots of that wanted to compete on it. And you know, I have an idea if you know, but it's actually triggered a good thing. It made me work a little harder, maybe work a little harder on sponsorships, maybe work a little harder on being a real matchmaker, knowing about girls that are at different locations and reaching out to their coaches and stuff. I did that today earlier and made 2 matches just because I reached out and I knew 2 of the girls that trained at a gym in Tupelo. I just reached out to the coach and he's like, yeah, we'll do it.
Yes, like, you know, Sierra Keller from More Gym, you've got her matched up against a purple player, and she's excited. She gets excited, but she's always talking against the nervous poops. So I told her, I said, I'm a black belt. I still get those. They don't go away.
They don't go away.
No, they don't. Man, I said we always get to every competition I've ever done. I get to a why do I do this shit point in the afternoon. Like I get there, I'm like, why do I do this shit? Just get through this one. You don't have to do it again. And I always seem to have fun, and I want to do it again. I start looking
Right.
for the next one. So, well, hopefully when you come back, you're coming back to Little Rock in October, right? Is that what the plan
Yeah,
was?
yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna have to switch the date. My class reunion is on the same date of that I already booked for uh, Little Rock, so I've got to reach out and see if I can switch the date to the week prior or the week after. So,
well, hopefully you'll let me raise my little flag again. I had a good time.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think I may have been, I don't remember who I was talking to about it, but I was talking about it on here about how I did it just so I could get a good seat to the matches and hang out. I didn't know I was getting paid till afterwards. I'm like, we're getting paid? Wait.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, man. I'm not. I had a black belt. I I don't know. I guess maybe he really didn't understand or something. But I had a black belt, and it could be a like a culture thing or whatever too. But I had a black belt lined up to be a judge one time, and he was like, "Hey, how much do you pay?" And I told him, and I was like, you know, you're basically just hanging out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you get to watch the matches and just tell me what you think. What do you think about this match? What do you think? Man, it's basically what it is. It's not, you know, like you said, a lot of people look at it like, hey man, I got the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we're all just trying to grow the sport. And I just thought this was a little selfish of this person to say, but he brought it up and was just like, yeah, you're not paying me enough money to. I thought, oh, okay, see ya. And then immediately I had somebody replace him. I just thought, man, this is just, but it just blew my mind because most people do think like, oh man, I'm getting paid. Wow, thank you. Like
Yeah.
I would have done it for free because I get a cool seat. But like I do want people to be paid, and
Yeah.
like the job is not hard. I understand if it's like you know but I'm paying them competitively with other. I've been paying MMA judges for 15 years.
Yeah.
So literally, an MMA judge gets paid the same thing, and now they're doing less matches, but they're there the same time frame. It's still taking time out of their day.
Yeah.
So
Well, and on the
anyway.
format with the three judges, the way you do it too, it is impossible for one person to screw anybody. Like just
Right.
because somebody's got to agree with you for the person you vote for to get the decision. And
Yeah.
and I know with me, preparing for these things and having competed in them, I know the work that goes into them.
Yeah.
I have respect for the game and the way the game's played, and I have respect for the sport. So I would never judge one, because just I like this person a little bit more. So
Yeah.
to them,
Yeah.
no,
I had somebody reach out to me after the last event. There was a close match, and it went to the other competitor or something. But somebody reached out to me and questioned like who the judges were, where they're from, stuff like that. Like I was like, dude, like it was one match. I get it. If somebody did that multiple, but I went back and looked. I can't remember, to be honest, like who the person was, but I remember him questioning um some of the judges and where they were from. And I was just like, well, I can't remember the other judge, but they wanted to know if they were affiliated with uh I guess they wanted to know if they were affiliated with Westside or something like that. I don't remember. It was he didn't make it a big deal on the message, but I kind of felt like he was referring to, like somebody got shafted and they were pissed off or whatever. I don't know.
well, that's
I was just like,
yeah, it's going to happen no matter who's judging. I remember the one that I
yeah,
did for you. I butcher his name every time from Westside Entity. He got kind of fired up. He got fired up at us saying he scored more points. I'm like, and Dean's from West Side, and Dean's like, there's no points. There's no points, but
yeah,
you can't judge that like a tournament match because it's not the same game.
right.
I tried to,
Right.
me personally, when I was judging, I would try to look at who's controlling the match. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're on top or you're bottom, who's controlling the match.
Yes. And that's like I'm trying to get away. That's why I make the significant submission attempts a big deal, because the MMA mindset, if you're on top, you're winning. I mean, that's just, I don't think that's not true in jiu-jitsu at all. I mean, if you're on bottom and you got a phenomenal guard and you're throwing up submissions left and right, that's what's winning. I mean, I've competed against in IBJJF, a guy pulls guard and then holds me in his closed guard the entire match.
Right.
Well, they reward him for that. It's like, hey, he's got, and I'm just like, what? I at first it took me a second to understand that, and I didn't understand why. But I mean, jiu-jitsu is, you're supposed to be comfortable on your back.
Yeah.
And, that's the attacking position. Preferred attacking position is from guard. I get that, but man, it just sucks when you're the person doing all the things to try to get out of the guard,
Right.
and all they're doing is just squeezing their legs or something. So
yeah, no, I hate that crap. Somebody just tries to hold you. Well, Jamie, I've kept you close to that a little bit over an hour, I believe. And
okay.
I know it flies by when you get on here, and I know you've got lots of work to do.
For sure.
So anyway, man, I can't thank you enough for hopping on. Y'all check it out on Flow Grappling, August the 18th and 19th.
Yeah, August 18th and 19th. August 18th, both events start at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Flow Grappling. And it's an all-women's event. And we'll probably have some youth matches potentially on Friday. The main event is Bettina versus Brooke Childers. And then also, I got the text a second ago, but I hadn't been able to read it. But I'm trying to make a super cool event for the neither guy. Well, one of the guys is kind of local to Little Rock area, but neither guys are local in the area. But it would be a super cool, fun match to put together. And so that's on the 19th, and that'll start at 6 p.m. and Central Standard Time on Flow as well. And then if anybody wants to come and purchase tickets and watch the match, they're $35 for general admission. You can buy it at summitgrappling.tv.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to plug all your socials and your website and all that fun stuff. Just Google Summit Grappling.
Yeah, Summit Grappling everywhere.
Yeah, Summit Grappling everywhere. It is a great event. And Jamie, you're also a phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner. I got to roll with you on Labor Day, and it was like watching a little man slap a big man around. But no, it was a lot of fun. You definitely got the better of me that day, and I appreciate you so much for jumping on.
Thanks, Clint. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.